In a Providence courtroom, Judge Frank Caprio looked down at a young boy standing beside his mother. They were there for a simple parking ticket hearing. But what happened next would become one of the most memorable moments in Caught in Providence history. The boy had just said something about his mother that made the entire courtroom pause. Judge Caprio, known for his compassion but rarely for surrendering his gavel, made an extraordinary decision. He would ask this child to pass judgment on his own mother. Providence Municipal Court sits in the heart of Rhode Island's capital city. For years, it handled the mundane business of traffic violations and parking disputes. Then Frank Caprio took the bench. His approach transformed routine hearings into moments of human connection. The television show Caught in Providence began filming these interactions, and millions discovered a judge who saw people, not just cases. Every day brought new stories, but this particular morning would stand apart from all the rest. The mother had received a parking ticket in downtown Providence. The violation was straightforward: she had parked in a restricted zone. The fine was not excessive, but she felt the circumstances warranted an explanation. She could have paid it and moved on. Instead, she decided to come to court. What made this decision remarkable was that she brought her young son with her. He was perhaps 8 or 9 years old, dressed neatly for court, standing quietly by her side as they waited for their case to be called. When their name was called, mother and son approached the bench together. The boy walked with quiet confidence, looking up at the imposing courtroom around him. Judge Caprio greeted them warmly, his grandfatherly demeanor immediately putting them at ease. He glanced at the citation, then at the mother, then at the boy. The judge asked the mother to explain what had happened. She began to describe the circumstances of that day, why she had parked where she did. But Judge Caprio's attention kept returning to the child standing beside her. Judge Caprio turned his attention fully to the boy. In his gentle way, he asked a simple question: "What kind of mother do you have?" The courtroom went silent. This was not a standard question in parking ticket proceedings. The boy looked up at Judge Caprio, then at his mother. What he said next would determine the entire direction of the hearing. His answer was immediate and heartfelt. He told the judge that his mother was the best mother in the world. She took care of him and his siblings. She worked hard for them. She was always there when they needed her. As the boy spoke, his mother's eyes began to glisten. Judge Caprio listened intently, nodding. He asked the boy more questions. Did she help him with his homework? Yes. Did she make sure he had what he needed? Yes. Did she put her children first? Always. The picture that emerged was of a woman doing her best in difficult circumstances. The parking violation suddenly seemed less important than the story being told. Judge Caprio saw what so many judges miss: the human being behind the citation, the context behind the mistake. Frank Caprio had built his reputation on moments like these. Throughout his decades on the bench, he had consistently looked beyond the letter of the law to find the spirit of justice. He had dismissed tickets for people facing genuine hardship. He had reduced fines for those struggling to make ends meet. He had lectured some and encouraged others. But he had always maintained his authority as judge. What he was about to do now was different. He was about to share that authority with a child who had never held any power at all. Judge Caprio leaned forward and looked directly at the boy. He said he had heard enough about the kind of mother this woman was. He understood that she was doing her best. Now he wanted to do something unusual. He wanted the boy to make the decision. Should his mother have to pay the parking ticket, or should it be dismissed? The courtroom collectively held its breath. The mother looked at her son with surprise and slight concern. The boy's eyes widened. He had come to court as a witness to his mother's character. Now he was being asked to be her judge. For a child, this was an enormous responsibility. He knew his mother had parked illegally. He had been taught to tell the truth and follow rules. But he also knew she had done it for a good reason, and he knew how hard she worked. He understood, perhaps better than most adults in that room, what the fine would mean for their family budget. Judge Caprio watched him think it through. The boy was not being asked to lie or excuse wrong behavior. He was being asked what justice looked like when you understood all the circumstances. It was a profound lesson in jurisprudence for someone so young. The boy looked up at Judge Caprio and gave his answer. He believed his mother should not have to pay. Judge Caprio smiled. He asked the boy why he thought that. The boy explained that his mother had not meant to do anything wrong, that she was a good person who made a mistake, and that she took care of her family. His reasoning was simple but sound. Judge Caprio nodded slowly, considering the verdict handed down by his youngest colleague. Then he made it official. Based on the testimony he had heard, and the judgment rendered by the young man before him, the ticket was dismissed. The mother could barely speak. She thanked Judge Caprio repeatedly, her voice thick with emotion. But more than that, she looked at her son with a mixture of pride and love that needed no words. He had stood up for her when it mattered. He had spoken truth about who she was. And in doing so, he had learned something about fairness, compassion, and the courage it takes to show mercy. Judge Caprio told the boy he had made a good decision. He told the mother she was doing a fine job raising her children. Then he wished them both well. What made this hearing so powerful was not just the dismiss ticket. It was the dignity Judge Caprio gave to both mother and son. He could have simply waived the fine himself. Instead, he made the boy part of the process. He showed the child that his voice mattered, that his assessment of his mother's character had weight, and that justice could be tempered with understanding. For the mother, it was validation. In a world that often judges struggling parents harshly, here was recognition of her effort and sacrifice. The courtroom had become a place of affirmation rather than punishment. When the video of this hearing was posted online, it spread rapidly. Millions of people watched the exchange between judge, mother, and child. Comments poured in from around the world. People shared their own stories of struggling parents and compassionate authority figures. Many said it restored their faith in the justice system. Others simply said it made them cry. The video became one of the most viewed episodes in Caught in Providence history. It resonated because it showed something people desperately want to believe, that the system can see us as human beings, not just case numbers. Judge Caprio has said many times that he tries to treat people the way he would want his own family treated. That philosophy was on full display in this hearing. He saw a hard-working mother and her son, and he chose to honor their relationship rather than simply process their paperwork. The legal system often moves too fast to see such things. Cases pile up, time is short, and the human element gets lost. But in Providence, in Judge Caprio's courtroom, there is always time to listen. There is always space for compassion. And sometimes, there is even room to let a child teach everyone what justice really means. That young boy will carry this experience for the rest of his life. He will remember the day he stood in a courtroom and a judge asked for his opinion. He will remember that his words mattered, that his love for his mother was taken seriously, and that showing mercy was not weakness but strength. Years from now, when he faces his own difficult decisions, he may think back to Judge Caprio and the lesson he learned that day. Perhaps he will pass it on to his own children. Perhaps he will remember that justice is not just about rules, but about recognizing the humanity in everyone who stands before the bench. For the mother, the impact was equally profound. She came to court expecting to defend a parking violation. Instead, she received something far more valuable, her son's public declaration of love and respect. She heard him describe her sacrifices, her care, her dedication. Parents often wonder if their children notice the thousand small things they do every day. This mother learned that her son saw everything. He understood. He appreciated. And when given the chance, he stood up for her. That gift was worth more than any dismiss ticket. It was a moment of connection that would strengthen their bond for years to come. Stories like this are why millions keep returning to Caught in Providence. In a world that often feels harsh and impersonal, Judge Caprio's Courtroom offers something different. It offers hope that authority can be exercised with kindness. It shows that rules can bend when circumstances require it. It demonstrates that taking time to listen can change outcomes. And it proves that sometimes the smallest voices, like that of a young boy defending his mother, can speak the loudest truth. This case was not just about a parking ticket. It was about dignity, respect, family, and the redemptive power of compassion in unexpected places. A simple hearing that could have taken 3 minutes stretched into something transformative. Judge Caprio could have looked at the ticket, heard a brief explanation, and made his ruling. Instead, he saw an opportunity to do more. He engaged with a child, elevated a mother, and taught everyone watching about the space between strict justice and true fairness. That is the legacy of this case. Years from now, people who watched this video will forget the details of the parking violation. But they will remember the boy who judged his mother and found her worthy of mercy. They will remember the judge who gave him that power. And they will remember how it felt to witness justice done with love.